the new episode. Hey, we've got video again. We're not idiots. I mean, we aren't joined by Scott, so any issues, it's probably his fault because he's not here. But we'll let it off. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Okay, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad.
Not too bad. We've just got back from the armory. We did okay. We've had a nice enough day, haven't we? I mean, I was still playing Pummel Arachne, which I will now put away. I'll admit defeat.
We all were playing a little bit of jank. I mean, maybe you, Liam. To be fair, you were playing proper fatigue Arachne. You were on Pummel Arachne, weren't you, Brooks? Like you say, and
yeah.
I mean, I decided to play Azalea, but with Sandscour because I got the pretty one,
yeah.
like, the Marvel. So, yeah, I'm on a bit of jank, really.
To be fair, you do get to look at a Marvel Sandscour bow for 3 games, which is nice.
That did make me feel better while I was
You
losing.
did it for 2 because you played Death Dealer versus Charlie.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Charlie's on Icelander. You can't play that deck without drawing against Icelander.
No, maybe not.
That's not good.
To be fair, Charlie also then did a lot of damage to me. He didn't kill me, but 6 frostbites, 5 frostbites with 3 frost X's. Blech.
Yeah, but you also pummeled the surgical against him. That was rude.
No, it's the CNC. It wasn't surgical.
Oh, sorry. It was
wasn't
CNC in that match, was it?
Yeah, it's only 10. It's fine. And destroying his arsenal because it destroys his arsenal in spite of him having a blue ice card in his arsenal that he decided not to play.
It's an interesting choice, Charlie. For listening, what are you playing at? Come on.
I mean, Charlie is full of weird and wonderful decisions, but that's why we love him.
He's
but
learning.
He is. He was on a new wizard, which is a big thing. But anyway, aside from our local meta and playing wizards, we have got a fair few things on the menu to talk about. We've got when does Michael Hamilton get LL? Because the man's a monster.
Sooner than quite a few heroes, to be fair.
Oh, well, it's ridiculous. But we've got all of the call in Indy to talk about, which will be interesting. So it was the first one after the banned and suspended announcements. And we got spoilies, which I know, George, you're very excited for one of the Ranger cards we saw.
Completely unexpected spoilers. And actually, yes, I know you meant that sarcastically, but there is at least one Ranger card that I'm excited about. There was a slight spoiler on that. It's also an Assassin card as well, because we can possibly get a good Ranger card.
That's not what we're talking about, though. We'll get to the juice.
I know full well what you're talking about.
Well, let's start off calling Indy. I mean, it was I quite enjoyed watching some of it over the weekend when I could. It was nearly 500 players, I believe.
491.
That's it. That's nearly 500.
Brooks, known for his accuracy.
I do estimations. It's easier. But I mean, I guess we were all kind of expecting maybe less Oldhim, less Icelander, because obviously the ban suspended hit them. Whether people were going to have time to be able to test Titan's Fist or Sledge as the main weapon, or how they're going to play with the hypothermia.
I mean, that's exactly what happened, right?
Yeah, I think looking at it now, the day 1 meta looked very much like that, right?
Oldhim and Icelander were the 9th and 10th most brought heroes.
There was more Doris than Oldhims.
There was more Reinhardt.
What a world to be in.
Like, there was more Reinhardt and Lexi and Dori and Bravo.
That's madness.
Yeah, that is absolutely mad.
Well, people still seem to want to take Fire. He was still the 3rd deck.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me, I don't think. I expected Fire to still be up and around there. It's still just... Sure, he's lost some of his pitch in Belil, and he's lost a lot of power there. But I don't think it's a bad deck all of a sudden.
No.
And he's still, not the hardest deck in the world to pilot.
But the most popular deck was Briar, your old favourite, Liam.
Yeah, this didn't shock me whatsoever.
No, the US seemed really high on Briar.
Yeah, I think once Icelander lost the amulets and Oldhim lost the hammer, I think Briar's matchup in theory definitely got better.
I think also losing hypothermia as well, right? That was a pretty good one in the matchup.
Yeah, it was not having the hypothermias there just to stop channel that heroic turns. I mean, obviously it crippled so many heroes when that got flashed out as Icelander, so it kind of it didn't surprise me that they came. And like I say, I know a lot of people in the US are quite high on Briar. But then we got to day 2 and things changed ever so slightly.
Yeah, I think that meta was much more surprising, at least for me. I mean, seeing some of these conversion. I mean, we still had a lot of Briar to be fair, day two, but
I mean, yeah,
looking
but
at the
the actual
conversion rates.
yeah, that's in the conversion rates were so low, and it was more the fact there was just so many of them that eventually some of them
Yeah,
had to get
for
through.
sure. I mean, the craziest thing is the Icelander Oldham conversion rate of like 50 and 40%. We're going to ignore, I think, the Azalea one of
No,
40%,
no, we
and
do
put that
not
down to.
ignore. We do not ignore Azalea having a 40% conversion rate day 1 to day 2.
I think that's more to do with the 5 people that turned up during the 491 player calling. I don't think that's more anything to do with the hero whatsoever.
Well, I mean, mate, she's got game. We worked out the other day. You know, your perch grapples are as good as Crater Fist.
Admitted to, you admitted this as well. As the Demon Ranger, you admitted
No, I did
this.
not. No, I did not, and I don't know who that is. But no, just no.
I don't know who that is.
He doesn't know his own name, Brooks. What's going on?
He's like, I don't have a name. I am vengeance. Please don't sue us, DC, for stealing Batman lines. But
I'm glad that the world in general is starting to learn just what I have to put up with.
yeah, I mean, you give just as good as you get. To be fair, so
Yeah, Mr.
I wouldn't play that small little violin.
I don't know. There's no evidence to back up your argument. I don't believe I've ever done anything wrong.
I think we've got about a good 20 episodes worth of me and you ripping the shit out of Liam.
Shit.
True.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Fair enough. I retract that statement.
And I was recording this enough that I have got you calling him a beanbag.
That's reasonable, but then also he did go full beanbag. Thank you, Scott, for that wonderful way of describing what happened to Liam during a game of Fab.
Yeah, that's when you get serious. But anyway, back to the meta. It was the conversion rates in Oldhams and Iceland's were still really high.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, no Levias made it, so I bet Mansant was sad while I was doing the commentary.
No Arachne either, to be fair. I think the honestly maybe the biggest shock for me actually is the 2.4% Bravo, the one Bravo that made it to day 2 after being the 5th most represented deck, having 40 odd turned up, and only one of them making it to day 2 was shocking, honestly.
Yeah, especially when some people had really touted Bravo as going to overtake Oldham.
Yeah, I mean the number of Guardian players who I said afterwards be like, well, why wouldn't I just play Bravo now? It turns out that's probably the reason why not to play Bravo. It's because only 1 in 42 is going to make it for some reason.
Yeah, unless they happen to just queue each other. But anyway, we got our top 8, which was a very unfamiliar sight of 5 Oldham and 3 Icelander.
No, 2 Icelander, 1 Briar.
There was a solitary Briar made it through out of the 79.
Tarek Patel and Briar.
He did in fact make it into the top 8 and then immediately lost, sadly. So all of our dreams of Rosetta Thorne leaving us died in the top 8.
Yeah, unfortunately, yet again, Ice has to deny everyone else's fun, or at least ruin Leicester's fun while he's looking at what weapons he can choose for Viserai. But anyway, we digress. But it's very, very familiar top 8. Do we think the band's actually had enough of an effect?
There we go.
Yeah, that's a good question. Go on, Liam. You're our resident Guardian player.
You're a resident boring bastard.
Fuck off. Nah, this is where after the bans, everyone was like, Oldham, really bad. Icelander, really bad. And then this happens after one event, and everyone's like, let's just ban Ice. Like, it's been one event. Can we just at least have a few more events to see what actually happens?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think anyone's wanting to revisit the ban and restricted, right? But
I've seen plenty of people calling out for more.
Oh, they wanted blood.
It's
really?
Just,
wow.
Yeah,
okay.
because I mean, fundamentally, people are fucking stupid. But
thanks for listening, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
We appreciate you.
People can hate me. I don't give a fuck. But I think it's just silly, just going is it a week? One or 2 weeks after the ban and restricted.
1 week.
1 week after it's implemented, and a few more days when it got announced before, right? So much stupid. Just give it time. Let's let people see if they can figure out anything different.
Well,
And if not, then you revisit it. But like,
Yeah, for sure. The
I
thing
think-
is, it's surely a good sign that they would, or say a good sign. It's something of a sign that the decks are. You'd expect if people were still trying to work things out that Icelander and Oldhim would have taken a bigger hit into this, and that they've slowly started gaining ground again once people had worked out how to manage them without the tools that they lost. But as it's kind of come back out and they've done well immediately, surely that does to some extent imply that the bans haven't been as effective as we thought they'd be.
No, I mean, Brian Gottlieb, I think, obviously wrote the article for the ban and suspended, kind of had to almost take a screenshot of it because obviously there were people calling for blood. There was a lot of, so that when one of the polls that we did, I mean, about half of people said folks just need to relax. You know, we've got outsiders coming out. If you read the article where he talks about potentially wanting to ban Crown of Seeds, outside of the whole argument around whether they should ban legendaries and pull feelings when that's happened, they have mentioned that they think that Guardians, specifically Oldhim, will need this when it comes to outsiders. So, but we had people saying they should ban Tunic. People should basically just ban Oldhim, ban Michael
Oldhim.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
Crown of Seeds is obviously one that gets spouted up a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Crown of Seeds. I think that's fair personally. I think you could probably get a lot of the cards back and
Yeah, but I
bring
think
back
if you
Crown.
want to take off fucking Crown Seeds, then you at least give us the hammer back.
I think
Because
that's okay.
I
That'd be
think they banned the hammer, so they didn't have to ban Crown Seeds, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah,
I think that's
they banned
it
around
didn't
the
say that in the
top,
article, but I think that was the idea.
Yeah, like I know it doesn't say it specifically, but that's reading between the lines. That's what it is. So, like, if you're gonna ban Crown of Seeds, which is a fair ban because the card's fucking stupid and busted, then give us the hammer back. That's fine.
Card is good.
And I think we saw that at the calling, right? I think a lot of the Oldhams kind of reverted back to the defensive nature, a lot more ramparts with a lot more fatigue. Just and I think that's partly because the Crown just kind of needs a ban.
That's just what I said was going to happen, right? Just
Although-
all go to fatigue and makes a lot of sense.
Well, I think the hottest take was someone saying we need to unban Prism.
That is fucking stupid.
No, never.
That's got to be Pheno Black.
And Fino did say it. We had a couple other people say it as well, but Fino literally just went unban Prism.
I mean, like,
No.
Prism was the counter to Guardian and Wizards, right? Like I get it, but she LL'd, so no.
Yeah, and let's face it, she, as much as she was the counter to those, she was also the counter to the other decks and had so many polarising matchups. It just wasn't fun. You're not having it back.
I do think there's nothing wrong with another illusionist that coming back round.
Just remove
one
Spectra, please.
a bit. Yeah, I'd like to see something without Spectra, but just something that might still have game into Guardian would be nice. But I don't mind them being the counter to Guardian and policing that part of the meta. But
as long as it's not a 99.1% matchup again.
Yeah, because that stuff isn't fun. But we got to the top 8. Obviously, we lost Briar, and then both semi-finals were Oldhim versus Icelander, I believe.
It was.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
In one, the Oldhim won, and in the other, the Icelander won. The Icelander piloted by some guy called Michael Hamilton.
He's not bad at Fab, is he?
I heard he's pretty good. Yeah.
He seems to know his onions, that boy.
He kicked my ass in Lille, Sag.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I think he's kicked a lot of people's asses. You know, there's a reason he's the world champ. But yeah, and he smashed it again. You know, we literally just watched the other semi-final. I can't remember the other finalist's name off the top of my head.
Fuck. Charles Dunn, I think his name was.
Yes,
That sounds right. Yeah.
that sounds correct. But it just literally just beating an Icelander. The whole Warhorn fatigue strategy in terms of just keep cracking through Frost Hexes. I mean, it was a close game, but then obviously Hamilton just knows what he's doing and absolutely destroyed it.
I think it also just helps when you draw your Frost Hexes and they don't find the Warhorn.
Yeah, this is the problem with the fucking Warhorn, right? It's like
But it's good in the vacuum.
semi-final. The semi-final versus Margin Bay was like summed up the why the Warhorn is played, and then like the final versus Michael Hamilton, it sums up why the Warhorn shouldn't be played. Because if you don't find it quick enough, it doesn't make a fucking difference.
This is the thing with like legendary keyword cards, right? These powerful cards to in certain matchups and everything that swing it, but there are only one-offs in the deck. You've got to find them.
It's not like Thor or Diabolical Ultimatum, right? Where you just like use one action point to get rid of it. It's not find it, use 2 action points on 2 turns to then remembrance it back in to find it again.
Yeah, it's the fact you've got to find it multiple times as well, right? You're searching for that one card. And I mean, honestly, as well, this is probably where the Crown of Seeds idea probably comes back slightly. Oldhim gets through his deck right now very, very quickly. Whether if that went away, whether that would be it's surely going to be much harder to do to go and find that Warhorn. You're probably going to be doing it a fair whack slower. So I do wonder if that would impact that matchup.
But no, and that was it really. Obviously, Hamilton smashed it again. Gets his Crown of Providence. And I mean, I think the meta's... I don't know whether it's in a good spot or not. I'm not particularly bothered because we haven't really got a competitive season now until RTNs. Obviously, we won't be going to Baltimore, but... Sorry, Liam. But,
sorry, all of us.
Yeah, all of us.
none of us got an invite in the end, which was a bit of a shame. We all just kind of missed out this season.
This is facts. But because we haven't got a competitive season, we've got outsiders coming out. We've got another Bandon suspended in March. I mean, I guess for the call in Auckland, I don't know what you guys are thinking, what the meta will look like, if it's going to be similar to what we saw for Indianapolis.
I'm expecting myself, to be honest, the day one meta to look very different. I mean, maybe it won't. Maybe we'll see much the same again. I mean, the day one meta was kind of what I was expecting it was going to be with the amount of Dromai and Briar around. They were the big winners, right, from the bans that everyone thought. So, but whether the final results will influence that, maybe day one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't...
Should we...
Is there anyone else in the world as high on Briar as the US is as well?
I don't know. I think everyone is a bit, right? Just after those bans, you just look at it and go, this probably should be very good for Briar.
It's going to be an interesting one. I've seen a tweet from Cal McCree saying that everyone's going to be playing fatigue mirrors. And then a response to that tweet was, I can't remember who said it, but they said there was a lot more going on with the meta than what was shown on camera.
Yeah.
So whether or not people still know stuff that's still developing in the background, and it will change in 3 weeks' time when the call happens, we'll find out.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I'm not sure if we ever saw much of the Briar game, the Briar games, particularly against the fatigue decks. Actually on camera, I don't think I saw many of those games myself, but over the weekend. But like you say, I'm sure there's more going on there. I'm also surprised that there wasn't more Fi higher up, particularly now Oldhim's are going more defensive. I'd have thought that potentially at least they should have been harder for fatigue. Just getting value from your Phoenix Flame and trying to just wear them down slowly, but I guess that's obviously not working. I don't know.
Unless they all just ran into the Icelanders and got fucked up.
That's true. Yeah, I guess that is possible. Maybe they finally actually have got a matchup in Icelander, and that's going to catch it up with them then.
Yeah, maybe they just can't. They're struggling to race the aggro decks, so they're getting fucked up by Alexis and Briars and Dromais and Dashes. It's just like a fair game for them now, and they're just losing out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, people also have a bit more time to test into what will work against that sort of strategy. Obviously, people quickly jumped onto the Warhorn as they had that opportunity against Icelanders, what they can do into that, whether, if it's going to be this live game, which I don't think from what we play that's particularly the best way forward, but you might get more Rune Blades running Reaping Blade and doing nasty shit. But I don't know. I'd like to think it's not the meta's still not in a bad place because it's, like I say, it is so diverse and things can crop up. I think it's just that top 8 had people nervous, but it is also Michael Hamilton, who is just, I don't know how to describe him. Absolute monster.
Yeah, for sure.
Both Icelanders in the top 8 are really incredible players. Like Margin Bay's not much over.
Yeah, exactly. But we did get some other bits come out of Calling Indy though, which I think we got a bit excited about some of it, didn't we?
Yeah, more than a little bit.
Just a smidge.
To get an early spoiler season like this, to get this, not just a few cards either. We got a real drop of cards. I don't think we've ever kind of seen this at a calling before. I think they've dropped maybe 1 or 2 cards at a calling, but this time we got, I don't know exactly how many it was, but a significant number.
Yeah, I think we got first PT, we got the Marvel Dragons. So we saw they were double-faced cards with the Marvel Invoke side and obviously the Dragon on the other because they showed us Dracona Optimi. At Lille, we got the Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't think we've had a card drop like this.
No, it's quite something.
And they all seem to come at once as well. It was literally over the space of about an hour.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know what it was there, but it looked like they'd given a lot of these out to kind of the stalls and vendors that seem to have them, right, the calling. From the photos that we saw, it didn't seem like it was like they were presented by LSS like the Emperor was or anything like that. It seems more like they'd been given out to people to kind of have to show on the weekend.
So which one do you want to start with? I mean, should we start with the Ninja card? We've only seen one of those.
Yeah, sure. We'll get that done with. I think there's a lot in that as well. To be fair.
Yeah. Bonds of Ancestry, right?
That's the one.
That is the one.
It was something I kind of mentioned at one stage when we were chatting that I'd like to see them almost have divergence within the combo lines, and that's kind of what we got. So it's a red, 2 cost, 4 power rare, so I assume it's going to come in a rainbow, 3 block combo. If a card with Gust Wave in its name was the last attack this combat chain, this costs 2 less to play and has go again. And when this attacks, you may banish a card with combo from your graveyard. If you do, search your deck for a card with the same name, banish it, then shuffle. You may play it this combat chain. I mean, it's wordy, but I like it.
Yeah, for sure. It's very wordy, but I do really like this. The only thing I will say is, being rare, we don't necessarily know we're getting it in full rainbow. No. It could be that it just comes in red.
Yeah, obviously we got that with Uprising, didn't we? That rainbows didn't necessarily have to happen, which is I don't think it's a bad thing. But I really like that.
I could see it with this
because obviously Liam used to play a lot of Ninja in your day. So what do you think of this?
I think it's a pretty good card actually. I think having combo lines with alternate ends and, well, in this case, middles, is I think it's pretty good. I think it makes the card pool a little bit more diverse. I think because ninjas, like Katsu, when I was playing Katsu, it was like every deck was the same, right? Because you just had to run very specific combo lines. Now it's going a bit more varied, so I think it's an interesting one. But I think the card's very good. The card's very good.
Yeah, well, 4 for free with Go Again and an effect which it's not an on-hit as well, which...
Yeah,
you look at that.
I think that's big. The fact that you don't need to hit for this. Sorry, Brooks, carry on.
No, it was exactly that, because obviously you usually get used to be Surging Strike, Whelming Gust Wave, and then you went into... Was it Mugenshi after that?
Yeah, it is, yeah. I think this is nice as well that it actually somewhat punishes your opponent for doing what they probably want to do anyway, which is to block the Whelming. You know, come in with the Surging. If they don't want to block the Surging, then they might just want to block the on-hit. If they think you've already got the Whelming Gust Wave, you know, they obviously want to put the block in there. But it's this then doesn't need to hit, and if you follow it up, allows you to go and search for the next piece, whether that be an unseen piece that we haven't seen that follows Bonds of Ancestry, or whether it's just a way for you to extend your combat chain and just get another attack.
There's also the other line that there's combo cards coming out in this that also have Gust Wave in the name. It doesn't have to be Whelming Gust Wave, it just says Gust Wave.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be excited to see whether we get a different Gust Wave, you know, instead of Whelming, like you say.
An overwhelming
that should be
Gust
interesting
Wave.
If we get
Yeah, it could be.
Underwhelming Gust Wave. It's really shit.
It's like a gentle breeze. But
it only attacks for 1 and it has no on hit.
But I really like the idea of the card. The art looks really cool. Obviously, we kind of see the foil version, so it's just like some old man absolutely destroying someone with a punch, which is cool. But I think if that's what they're going to do for Ninja this set, I think that's going to be really quite interesting. I think it's going to maybe Katsu isn't still playable, or at least not as playable as what people think is. I know some people are gambling on fatigue Katsu and busting out the flip flags again.
Mr. Minds himself.
Oh, that boy loves a brew. But we did.
And he does.
But we then got some other cards for I suppose we'll save
go
you till
assassin,
last,
right?
Josh. You'll do
Yeah,
assassin. We'll save
save
George.
the best till last.
Fair enough.
I mean, the first thing we got is because obviously they announced the call in Baltimore, which I think we saw this. So they announced a card called Death Touch, which is our first, not first, sorry, because we saw Codex of Frailty, but one of the hybrid cards, which is Assassin Ranger. One cost red. Death Touch can't be played from hand. That's clearly one for Rangers. When this hits a hero, create a Frailty token or Blood Rot Pox token under their control or inertia. Hits for 6, blocks for 2.
Yeah, you can clearly see the Ranger contribution here, like you said. The fact we can't play it from Arsenal and the fact that can only play it from Arsenal, sorry, and
And
that
blocks 2.
it blocks for 2. Yeah, exactly.
Ra-
I can't believe the Assassins have got a fucking take one for the team just to get a block 2 for Rangers.
No.
Unbelievable.
Rangers just dragging everyone else down. That's why you have to get other goodies, which we can come on to. But obviously, we heard about Frailty and we heard about Indy Codex, but we didn't know what Inertia was. We didn't know what Blood Rot Pox. We didn't actually know what Frailty was either. But then they spoiled all of those because apparently for the Call in Indy you get a pack and you get cold foils of each of these, or at least a token pack with each of these. So we'll start off with Inertia, which is at the beginning of your end phase, destroy Inertia, then put all cards from your hand and arsenal on the bottom of your deck. A bit like, so you can destroy them, obviously that just discarded them. What do we
I like Inertia.
This is probably going to be significantly easier to give, right? It can be given in the attack reaction step. This is going to be a real problem for Icelander. It feels like this card is going to really just wreck some Icelander's day when you get to, as we'll come to, an attack reaction that gives this later. When you can just pop this onto an attack that they've decided not to block. I can see this really messing things up for them.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really make sense to stack something like this where you potentially get 1 or 2 or 3 of them. But like I say, it can really mess up some heroes' turns if you're looking at a kill and hold him. You can't crown the seats because you haven't got an arsenal. Well, you can for sure. Hand, but you can't do the fun one. So I quite like Inertia. Then the weirder one of the 3 is Frailty, which is your attack action cards played from Arsenal and weapon attacks have -1. Beginning your own phase, destroy it. This is so pointed towards you Ranger folks that it feels a bit unfair.
It is and it isn't, right? I think this. I can see in a limited sense why I think this works. I can imagine that ninjas are obviously going to have a one-handed weapon again of some description, whether it be Kodachis or something else. But this will probably be very impactful against them, right? Being able to make those essentially attack for 0 if it is Kodachis. Feels very much that way, and they've obviously targeted Rangers as well. I'm just not sure why it only really impacts weapons and cards from Arsenal.
And Spider Spikes as well. If we assuming we get one-handed for Assassin, it will also get them as well.
For sure. Yeah, like I say, I think within the limited format, it feels like it's going to be. I can see why it does what it does. I was just hoping for a different effect, to be honest. That
the art
wasn't quite so punishing to Ranger.
And the art style is very different on these as well. It's far more grainy, almost, the art, but I quite like it. But I know, we were talking in the car on the way back, Liam. I think you're most people, to be honest, are most excited for the Blood Rot Pox.
Oh, yeah.
Which
is so good.
At the beginning of your end phase, destroy Blood Rot Pox, then it deals 2 damage to you, unless you pay 3.
Man, this is nasty.
This art as well, absolutely grim.
Yeah, it's like some.
I wish Blood Rot Pox wasn't like on hit. I wish you could just generate these like. I just want to kill someone from 40 to 0 with Blood Rot Poxes.
Yeah, I think when you and I were discussing this the other night, to be fair, Brooks, we were saying if you could stack a bunch of these, it'd be incredibly interesting. But at the moment, I think we've only seen them as all these as on hits, right? Which I imagine is all they will be. But you never know, we might be able to get one. I mean, actually, no, that's not true. Codex of Frailty generates a Frailty without a hit. Yeah. So maybe we'll get something similar. The other Majestic that will be for Blood Rot Pox.
But like I say, it looks like some out of Dante's Inferno. It's absolutely gross. But the idea of, I mean, it kind of really invalidates the old traps where it was deal 2 or they can pay 1 to avoid it. That it's now pay 3. And that had to come from Arsenal as well. So, but I mean, the Blood Rot Pox I think might well be a genuine thing when it releases. That people are going to try and build a deck that's going to do that because, yes, I know we can see you nodding, Liam. I know how excited you are for these. It feels like something. If you can stack some of these up, like it is going to get to a stage where they can't pay alongside you actually just hitting them on their turn. You know, are they going to save blues to want to pay for this? I doubt it. But then if it's going to be lethal, you haven't got a choice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, having this be pay 3 is huge, right? Taking a blue out of somebody's hand. So many of these heroes want to function off 1 blue a turn, and I mean, if they don't want to pay, these attacks that come in, I mean, I think it's probably a good bit to one of the 0 for 3 attacks we got for Assassin. So each one of these got a stealth attack, though unfortunately they haven't got the full stealth wording on them, so we still don't know what stealth does. But they all have a 0 cost, 3 attack, 3 block, on hit, create one of these tokens. So obviously create a Bloodpox, Inertia, or Frailty, depending on which attack. So these are Infect, Sedate, and Wither. But like the Blood Rot Pox one, Infect, this is just a 0 for 5, or a 0 for 3 on hit 5, which is very good.
And then with Razor's Edge, you can make it a 0 for 8.
Yeah, this is true. Yes, you can. I mean,
and if you really wanted to go ballsy, rather than just going for 0 for it, you can pay 1, and you can use the new attack reactions we also found out, which is this spike with Blood Rot or Frailty or Inertia, and for each one it's target attack action card with stealth, so it's also focusing on these. Gains +3, and when this hits, create one of whatever token it is. So if you were to hit someone with an Infect, and then you paid 1 and then hit them with a Spike with Blood Rot, that is 6 damage, and then 2 boxes, which is 10 for 1.
For 1.
Or you can pay 6 to not have 4 damage.
Well, yeah.
Yes, and I mean, you can mix and match here as well, right? You can hit them with an Infect and then spike it with Frailty. Yeah, exactly. Or spike it with Inertia, so that they've got to be pitching a blue, and then at the end of their turn, they can't just Arsenal pass. They've got to they'll have to put everything, put all their cards on the bottom of the deck.
And then you've got, like I say, you've got the likes of Razor's Edge, which is the one we've got. We've already got Cut to the Chase, although I think Cut to the Chase is only on contract.
It's contract, yeah, so, exactly. So it looks like, from what we've seen so far, they may even be moving away from contracts for Assassins for this set. It maybe seems, at the moment at least, significantly more stealth focused. Whether we'll see a few more contracts, I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's going to be a mixed bag. I think...
Yeah,
because Arachne is still in the set, I think you'll still get your contract cards.
I mean, you say this, mate. There's absolutely nothing to suggest that he has any interaction with contracts because it's a completely new Arachne.
Yeah, he's just murdered.
I don't think it'd be too different. I don't think it'd be massively different. If it is, fair enough. But I do expect at least 2, maybe 3 cards with contracts in this.
Yeah, it could well be the case that they're just showing us the new stuff, right? They just want to show and tease the stealth mechanic, so it may be that they're holding the contract ones back as
tease is the right word, because I know it's about this again. Like, what does stealth do? We've already got obviously dominate. We've got overpower. Assuming it's some sort of evasion or stopping people from, whether it's preventing it, blocking in a certain way. I just can't work out what it is, but I want to know because I want to be playing these cards. There's a reason I've been playing Arachne at the armies recently, because it's fun.
It is very fun.
And the idea of hitting someone with a Infect and then spike them with Blood Rot and just watch them slowly grimace as they work out what's just happened, it's going to be really fun. And that's only the ones we've seen so far.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Before we cycle to the Demon Ranger, talking about his favourite class, we actually didn't touch on whether or not we think Death Touch is good.
I mean, that is probably because also I think, I want to talk about that as a Ranger card because I'm actually excited about this one. Like, Death Touch, I think, is going to be very good. Don't get me wrong, I could be wrong. Obviously, the drawback of not being able to play it from hand is huge. But this is a 1 for 6 that could be either on for your own choice of actually when it hits, can either be a 1 for 6 on hit 8 unless they pay, or have any of the other effects.
Uh,
After seeing their blocks, which I think is pretty damn good.
I mean, think about it in Arachne, it's oftentimes you're not really bothered about your Black Tech Whisperers. It feels like the sort of thing where if this is in your arsenal, hit with some card with contracts, break those onto it. This is the sort of thing you want to then play into. It's like having a CNC at the back end of it, but you only have to pay 1 for it, and there's potentially an upside to it. I really like it.
The nice thing for Arachne, right, is it also kind of lets him bluff that cut to the chase that at the moment is what you normally think of when Arachne's holding cards back, when they start with a card in Arsenal that's been there a couple of turns. You think it's probably the cut to the chase or the shred, so I'm not going to block this contract card. And then they, like you say, they break the black text and then come in with the death touch.
It could be a 1 for 8 effectively, which is way above rate.
I'm just still psyched about the idea of take aiming with this, reloading it, and then throwing it off a tunic counter for a one card for
11.
9/11, which is obviously a very good rate. Don't get me wrong, I'm living the dream here a little bit, but I actually think as well this actually might see some play in someone that wants to play New Horizons like Lexi. I can imagine just putting this in Arsenal on a turn. And then just once you've activated Voltaire twice, you fire your 2 arrows with Go again instead of adding the +1 on the last one. And off your blue, you go 0 arrow, and then have the ability to come in with Death Touch for 6 or 8 at the end of the turn, and depending on whether you want to take away their arsenal or do more damage.
Reload this off a Bolton shot.
Yeah, sure, exactly. Reload that, put it face down, flip it up with Lexi's ability, and then either fire around it with the last arrow or just throw it straight away.
Yeah, I think my favourite thing with this was when people realised that actually Take Aim would be able to put this into the arsenal and the effect goes off, because obviously we've never had a ranger card which is just an attack that isn't an arrow.
No.
So actually
this is the first one.
This does work. I think it was Az who pointed it out on one of our Twitter posts. It was like, do you know what? When someone does that, I'm going to feel so salty, but also go, I'm actually quite impressed by this.
Yeah, I mean, some of these like very nice ranger buffs that are obviously just 0 cost is one of the few nice things they do have, with some decent effects and the ability to put stuff face down to your arsenal. This is at least a nice benefit for it, is that we can have, like I was saying before, kind of a 2-card hand that just does 9 like this with a non-hit effect, which is just pretty strong. It's pretty strong third at the end of the game.
I mean, if it would work, if it had worked off Azalea's ability to give this dominate as well, that would have been Dreamland, I think.
Yeah, unfortunately, Azalea's abilities is just not good.
Well, Dominate ain't bad when you hit someone with a battering bolt that's also got a dead eye and also got a Seeing Destroyer in it, George. So
it's pretty good, mate. It's pretty good, but unfortunately, I've only ever done that like twice.
Yeah, both times to me.
No, actually, I was on about today.
Oh God, is it? Oh, nasty, man. But no, I think Death Touch is pretty good. Would be my
I like this card a lot.
I think obviously, hopefully, we'll get more cards, especially when we get the Calling Auckland coming up. I can't see them not spoiling some more cards that close to spoiler season, and it's in New Zealand, so hopefully we'll definitely get a few more goodies to be able to look at.
You say that close to spoiler season. It's still a few weeks away. Yeah, I'm surprised we've got what we've got. I mean, I'd be surprised if they give them to one calling and not the other, but still.
Less than a month.
It is less than a month, but like it is still quite a few weeks away yet. So
True.
Yeah.
So
I'm a bit surprised.
Let's face it. This is the bit me and Liam were most looking forward to. George, tell us all about your new Ranger gear.
Yeah,
Please.
Well, there's some wonderful news. We got a quiver. Oh yeah.
How long have you been asking for a quiver? Why are you so not more excited? It's something you've wanted for such a long time.
Go on, George. Tell us what it does.
Okay, it's spectacular. The quiver of rustling leaves. It's going to be absolutely amazing, obviously. And to be fair, finally, I managed to to prove a fair few people wrong on this one of trying to tell me that you couldn't have a quiver because it would have to be an offhand, and you can't have that because all bows are two-handed. Well, it turns out you can just print on the card that you can have this with a bow, and looks like that's exactly what they did. But yes, so you can actually equip this with a two-handed bow. It's an instant. For some reason, it costs 3, but you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an arrow, put it face up into your arsenal and destroy Quiver of Rooks and Leaves. Yeah, I think this is pretty shit.
Tell us why, George.
God, that's a Liam style review. You've read the card and just gave us one word.
Go on, George. Tell us why.
Unlike Liam, though, Brooks, I'm going to elaborate.
Ooh.
I know, right? Unfortunately, this is a majestic piece of equipment that is a single use. This is more what I expect from a common or a rare. It costs 3 for some reason to reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an arrow, great, you get it to put it face up in your arsenal. But ultimately, it just stays on top. So, sure, it only actually gets destroyed if you actually hit an arrow, which is at least pretty good. But this doesn't combo with effects like Sandscour Great Bow, so I can't pitch into this, bottom a card, and then look at Sandscour, because neither of them put an arrow on the bottom. So if you whiff on one, you're going to whiff on the other. So unfortunately, I just don't think this effect is good. It may see some play in Rangers. It's nice that it's an instant, but yeah, I don't see this being particularly good. The only thing is it not
good for doing the Lexi thing, but in Azalea? So like getting to load an arrow on like your opponent's turn.
Potentially, but you've still got. So if I force you to go first and you pass with an action point, which is what, let's be fair, you should be doing into either somebody who's presenting this, or or someone who's playing Lexi, I've got to throw an entire blue into this thing on the off chance that I hit an arrow.
But
so if I do, and then you decide to attack, and I don't block out, at least with Lexi, I could make the assessment of whether that having the arrow in Arsenal is worth the extra damage.
But you've got so many blue Sikkim shots now that you'd be able to spend to do this with.
And this is why
blue hemorrhage balls as well now.
So ignoring Brooks because he's being an idiot. Yeah, I mean, so, and also this is the other thing is that in Azalea, if you're going to run Skullbone Cross Wrap, you probably don't really want to start with an arrow, particularly a face-up arrow in your arsenal. Turn 2. I mean, but your arrows aren't really going to have go again. So unless your plan is to break the Perch Grapplers or Snapdragon Scalers, you probably don't want it. You may hit a blue arrow. You don't then get a choice. If you flip over a blue Bolton shot, you're going to be putting that blue Bolton shot into your arsenal, whether you like it or not, and destroying the piece of equipment. So, yeah.
It really surprises me, as much, taking the piss aside. It's something that I think Rangers have wanted for a while, and especially in a class that feels like it needs a bit of a push, especially for Azalea. I really don't get why this is a majestic level equipment.
I think that's what hurts the most about it in some way is that for some reason it's majestic. If this was a common piece of equipment, I'd be like, that's really cool. It's a nice design space. I still wouldn't understand why it would cost 3 for a deck that on the whole has tried to be relatively efficient and red line, particularly like Azalea. I think at the moment most lists are like on 3 blues, maybe a few more, lots of yellows that they want to play their entire turn off a yellow. Because obviously of Death Dealer, but for them to pitch 3 into this it's not easy. And for Lexi, Voltaire's just more efficient. You're loading the arrow when you throw like resources into it. I don't know. This just seems bad on every level, and for a majestic piece, it's not up there in terms of power level, at least from what I can see. Maybe there'll be some crazy interaction that makes this good, maybe be there. But I think that honestly the best and the most positive thing we can say about this is that we've got a quiver, and that maybe they'll print another one. Maybe there'll even be a legendary one in this set. It won't be the first time that they introduce a new piece of equipment and they immediately give us a legendary. I'd probably be more hopeful of that if this was a common. It might be the shield scenario for Guardian when they obviously got Buckler in Tails, and then immediately they got Rampart. Maybe we'd get this and it'd be a common, and then we'd get a legendary. But I'm hoping that maybe the Raging legendary of the set is actually not another headpiece, and is
No, you've not had a headpiece for a while. You do well.
I am lacking one. I need another headpiece to sit in my sideboard. So
I mean, to be fair, as much as you got Skullbound Cross Wrap, you've got New Horizons. There are times when you run the common honing hood.
yeah, because there's times it's just better.
Yeah, and that's the sad thing. The common sometimes, but anyway, I think, like I say, it's great that they've done it. The fact that they're willing to go into that space, say, do you know what, you can just have one of these regardless of it's a two-handed bow or whatever. I just wish it was slightly better. Whether if it costs two, so at least with the blue you could do this and then, do whatever range of shenanigans you want to try and do. But there's just seems so many anti-synergies in Ranger in terms of Lexi's ability, bows.
Yeah, and I mean this is the same again, right? Like this. The trouble is, if they print a bow that does something when you load an arrow, this doesn't have the effect. I mean, this does have something of a combo, I guess, with Sandscour, because it will put the aim counter on. Because anytime you put a card from your deck face up into your arsenal from your deck, you get an aim counter.
I've got a question for you, John.
Go on then.
As the Demon Ranger,
Sure, if you say so.
Is this worth a slot in your deck, regardless, because it doesn't cost you anything to run it? So like the shields cost Guardians their two-handed hammer, right? So they're forced to run a one-handed hammer. Like, this doesn't cost you changing your bows or replacing any of your equipment. Do you just run it in your deck anyway?
Potentially, I guess, right? I mean, there's I can definitely think of maybe one or two archetypes of this may work in. Like, you've played a fair bit against the tall ice Lexi that you play that I've played in the past. Like, this is probably you just go straight in that, because if you even have the slight chance of negating an off turn in that deck, you'd take it. Right? You take a piece of equipment that just sits on the table and that lets you pitch a blue into it to go, my turn doesn't do nothing. But for most decks, maybe not. Even though it's kind of free, it's kind of just there and can just be used if you need it. I mean, it may also just make your 3 of a kind turns more playable. Like, it allows you to go that one step wider, and that might be all it's really here for. Is that when you play a 3 of a kind, that it allows you to go for a 2-arrow turn without the extra arrow in arsenal, or even with the extra arrow in arsenal, but give it go again, or fire something that already has go again. And then you can just pitch 3 resources into this and try and get another one. But it's just the fact again that obviously it's not guaranteed, and it's something you can whiff on.
Yeah, what I don't understand with a lot of these, why it doesn't then put the card, if it's not an arrow, put it on the bottom of your deck.
Yeah, again, like I say, this is something that just seems so bad. And it was one of my major gripes, I think, with Sandscour Great Bow, is it's exactly the same. You look at that top card, you go, man, I can put this in my arsenal. Well, I can't because it's not an arrow. What do I do with it now? Well, I can't bottom it. Why that card wasn't just opt 1? Yeah, why isn't this just opt 1?
It's like when Kano's hit the Eye of Ophidia off the top, they just go, well, that's my turn done.
Yeah, sure, but at least that's a conscious choice if they know when they run Eye of Ophidia, because I know Kano decks that don't run it because they just don't want that small chance of hitting it on their combo turn.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's not a deal that Rangers can make. We can't just be like, well, I'm just not going to run non-arrows, because it turns out then your deck's a bit shit.
Pitching out of video is pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Eye of Ophidia is I think it's just always going to be good in Ranger. I don't think. I think it's always going to be at least useful to some extent. Anything where you want to draw a card or reveal the top card, it's always going to be pretty damn good.
So out of 10, George, what are you giving it?
That's a good question. Maybe I'm rating this too harshly. Maybe I'm disappointed. I'd go for like a 3. This is a majestic piece of equipment that looks to me like a common piece, and I'm not even sure that with the cost curve of it that I'd want it in a common piece. I think it's going to be a very disappointing M to open.
So for going further in the discussion, what would you want the L quiver to do?
Ooh.
That's a good question. Honestly, I don't
That's
know.
Two good questions in a row from you, Liam.
I know, and he's contributing a bit much. This is unnerving. That's
a deflection and a half.
Isn't it just? I'm buying myself time to think of what the hell it should do. I think the ability to increase consistency would be really good. You know, whether like you would be able to put an arrow under a quiver and then be able to access it again. Like if this was instant pay 3 and you could take an arrow that you put under here previously and put it into your hand, I'd be okay with it. Yes, it would cost a lot, but at least it would allow you to guarantee that you're not going to have these terrible no arrow turns.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, that's the thing. Rangers die on their break turns, right?
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I've had at least 2 instances this PQ season where it's just, you know, my deck has been on the whole been going fairly well, and then all of a sudden you just hit that. You're not even at your pitch stack yet or anything like that. I can't blame myself for pitching terribly, but you just hit that section of the deck where you've shuffled and you happen to have 4 of no arrow. You know,
Or 5
or you,
of.
or yeah. Or
If this
1 point.
was, if this was the same, but instead of reveal the top card of your deck, if it's an arrow point face up, if it was just like a tutor to go get any arrow, would that be sufficient?
That would be
Probably,
cool.
yeah, for a
that'd be-
majestic.
As a one use.
Yeah, probably as a majestic, that's fine. I don't think that'd be okay for a legendary, right? Like you look at the legendaries on the whole, the point is they're meant to stick, they're meant to be reusable. So you probably gotta cater to that effect somehow to change it if you're gonna make that something like that. But as a one use as a majestic, it's got to be a powerful effect, right? You look at other one-use majestics. Obviously, this can't block because it's a quiver. So, but you can't really compare this to courage, for example, or anything like that. This effect is terrible in comparison, and anti-synergistic. Like, and this is the problem I think that they have. To be fair to the design team, is that they've made so many effects that want arrows to be face up in your arsenal. They want so many effects that want them to be face down. This can't really appease all, right? Like if you're running New Horizons, you want an arrow face up, so it opens up the second arsenal slot. If you're Azalea, you want it face down, so you can use cross wrap to flip it face up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough. It's tough to say, but this just doesn't quite fit for me. I mean, I would love to be wrong. I hope that this is going to be a staple in every Ranger deck going forward, but I don't see it right now.
Yeah, I think if it was as a legendary piece, you could store an arrow under it, like just to get back. It also is then a little bit more CNC protection because obviously CNC, with Leave No Witnesses now as well, always hits Rangers so much harder because they also struggle to block.
Even if like for example, if this was a legendary piece, if at the beginning of the game you were allowed to search out like 3 arrows, even if you couldn't put arrows into it, if you were allowed to like start with a number of arrows in it essentially, and then could access them for a cost at some point during the game, I think that'd be very incredibly powerful, and it probably wouldn't be that broken either, because obviously Rangers are very much limited by how many attacks they can throw based on how many times they can activate the bow. So like having extra arrows in your hand on your turn isn't that powerful anyway. It's not the biggest thing.
So when you start people running tri-shot, actually breaking perch grapplers and then trying it.
Yeah, for sure. But then if you give it a cost, right, then you're resource limited, and then it's got to be a 3 of the kind set, and then you're kind of talking some kind of like exactly like, but it's obviously some kind of Christmas land combo. In which case you've either got to like pitch stack it, or you've got to get very very fortunate, and I think that's fine. But yeah, this feels like a lot to pay for something that might do nothing.
Yeah, I say if you use it once, it breaks. Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If you use it once, it doesn't necessarily break. It only breaks if it hits.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you use it once, it hits the first time, but it's like you say, it's blue Sikkim shot.
It's broken.
Blue Sikkim shot, but
the fact this isn't a choice, right? Like even Kano going off the top of the deck gets a choice on whether they take the card or not. It's look at it and then choose. This is just reveal, and we find out what I get.
Like I say, if you're playing something, if you've got heroes like Arachne that are playing around the top of your deck, just going, yeah, I know you can't use this if I leave it, and if I don't hit with this and I just leave an action on top, I don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand maybe if you have got contracts, in this upcoming set, maybe this is why they wanted to interact with the top of the deck for Ranger, particularly instant speed, so that if Arachne is gonna come in and hit that top card of your deck or whatever, and they decide to leave it on top, you can choose to activate something like this at instant speed. Look at what it is, decide do you want to keep it. But for me, getting rid of a whole card in your hand and probably you're blue for the turn. That whole card from your hand to potentially get that top card is so
very rough. Very, very rough.
So rough.
Be a nice cold photo.
Oh, it'll be very.
I'm sure
it's
it will
very
be.
It's very pretty.
Yeah, the artwork is beautiful. They've knocked it out of the park. I really love the idea. I just wish the effect was good. Or like I say, I could just forgive this this piece of equipment. Sorry, so much more if it was a common fact that it's majestic. This is just going to be such a sad, particularly for anyone who's not a Ranger player, right? Like this thing is going to be very, very sad to pull from a box, I feel.
Yeah. Well, we haven't got particularly too long to wait. Obviously, it's about a month until spoiler season starts at this point. Then we've got it's about 2 weeks of spoilers, and then it's pre-releases. Then it's obviously then the week after it's go time. And crack out your boxes of Outsiders and 6 hero drafts. Oh, I can't wait.
It's gonna be good, isn't it? To be fair, I think we're all surprised though at the moment that there's at least nothing yet announced of any world premieres like we had for Uprising or any callings that are happening around the time.
Yeah, if it's not been announced now, it's not happening. Unfortunately.
No, which is a shame, really. But
yeah, we like
fantastic.
We like world premiere team blitz callings. They're good. We want more.
Also, just not blitz.
Hey, we.
Imagine a team calling CC event. That'd be fucking sick.
No,
that would be amazing.
No, it wouldn't.
Would you know it wouldn't?
Because I played Dori and you just spend the whole day being frustrated at me.
No, you. If you did that event, I'm sorry, I wouldn't let you take Dori.
That's probably.
I don't care how pretty your deck looks.
It's very pretty.
It's
You
not
can't-
happening.
Very
Tell you what, you can bring
shiny.
Dori. You can bring Dori and look at it between rounds, but during the calling, no, it's not happening.
Brooks is just like, look, I've just lost on Arachne. I'm just gonna go stare at my Dori deck.
Exactly.
You're going to stare at this longingly and think, oh, if only, if only.
You think long and hard about the choices you've made, Brooks.
Do you see me sat in the corner staring at like my cold foil braces, going, I just wanted to play him. It's true. That's what I do.
I don't know what you're on about, Liam. Do you not know that more Dori turned up to the last calling than both Oldham and Icelander? She's clearly better.
Look how that ended up for the Dori players. They didn't exist after that.
I mean, I think you'll find 6 of them did.
Yeah. I mean, a 15% conversion rate is not where it's at. Unfortunately, as much as I wish it was significant. But gents, I don't think I've got particularly much more to throw on to this. I think we've covered off the main bits of what's been going on. Is there anything from either of yourselves that we want to touch upon?
No. I think for myself at least, I'm pretty good. I feel better after my cathartic rant.
I was going to say it was verging on a vexing malice, but obviously we just merged it in with everything else. Because, I mean, like I said, I don't know why you're whinging. Like as we agreed, you have got your perch grapplers. They're as good as great.
Don't ruin my good mood, Brooks. Don't do it to me.
Don't know why you whinged.
It.
George, remember that next time Merciless Battle Axe gets revealed.
They'll never reveal it again.
To be fair, he still hasn't stopped whinging about Merciless Battle Axe yet.
Or Helm.
I can't.
No, that either.
No, Helm, I will say, has its in a vacuum. To use your exact words about Warhorn, it can be okay.
No, that wasn't Liam's exact words about Warhorn. He was like, the card's great, but it's bad. But in this exact small vacuum that's like slightly larger than another small vacuum, it's a really good card.
Is that where we argued that Fog Down probably lived in a similar sized vacuum as being a great card?
No, we said that was shit.
It was, yes, and then that's why Warhorn was shit, because in that similar size vacuum, it was a good card, and therefore, Liam essentially had to concede that Warhorn was shit outside of certain matchups.
Yeah, we're really sorry, Adam. It is just a shit card.
Fucked out.
Just casually insulted. Well, we've not insulted Ash, Canning. You know, we've gone easy on people. We've only insulted Charlie and Adam.
Yeah, we've not done much to the locals this time round, so but that's probably a good thing all in all.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I've pummeled quite a few people today on the CNC. I don't think I'm particularly popular.
regroup.
Doing that in Iraq, and you go, oh, fine, I'll take 6. And people are like, what the fuck is this? Why are you playing Pommel, you mad bastard? But anyway, I think, chaps, we can call it there for this evening.
I think so.
Thank you very much for joining me, Liam and George, and for anyone who's still listening, thank you very much. Do all that like and subscribe bollocks people usually say if you can be asked. But we'll hopefully catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Oh.